Welcome to part 4, drawing a site plan in Revit. Okay, we're in the final stages of the project now. So all we have to start adding to our drawing is documentation. So annotation, and earth information and some dimensions. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to add some basic dimensions. And then we're going to start adding a series of text. So you can see we need to add some text values for the contours, for example, the corner positions of where the site information, where the cadastral information terminates. And I've got an example of what that must look like. I'll show you that now. Okay, and we've got to address the way the grids look, etc. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start doing is I'm going to build a list of notes. So I'm going to build a list of notes that I'm going to need to put around my site. So we've got paving, we've got existing paving, we've got concrete paving. So generally what I tend to do is I start a drafting view, a blank drafting view. If you go to view, drafting view, you can simply create a new drafting view there. I just keep the scale the same. Now I'm going to start adding some text. Okay, annotation, text. So these are my general notes. These general notes, just start typing something. Okay, these general notes are usually between 2 and 2.5 centric Gothic. It doesn't really matter, 2 or 2.5, depending on how dense your site plan's looking. Okay, so I'm going to start. Okay, so I'm going to quickly build a list of notes that I'm going to use. Okay, just to let you know, I've changed this to 1-to-1, and then I did the notes. So we've got an existing footpath, concrete paving, etc. And then what I tend to do is you can copy and paste the text where you need it, or you simply grab all of this again, Control C, you go back to the site plan that you're working on, and you can simply paste, Control V, you paste all the notes in the view. Okay, so I've just got to move these out the way. Alright, so here we've got all our notes. It's just I've gone from 1-to-1, 1-to-2. So here I just got to unpackage them all. So ideally I should have left it at 1-to-200, but that does happen. So here I'm just grabbing all the notes that I'm going to need. Okay, so I tend to keep a library of the notes that I use, because it means if I need to replace information, I can very quickly. Okay, so I'm just moving this down, moving this down, moving this down. Okay, moving this down. So it's quite neat to build a list of these first so that you can use them again and again. So for example, brick paving, this will start happening at the back here, for example, here where my entrance is. And what is neat, you can use this rotate, it'll quickly rotate as well. So just move. So generally what I do is I quickly go and unpackage this, and then I'll move all the text around. So I'm going to quickly complete that. Okay, so I've quickly worked around the drawing and added the relevant notes from my list that I had built up and moved them into the correct location. So I had to change them all to 2, but if you can simply select the text and make it 2.5 if need be. But I just found that the 2 worked a bit better in this view. So now we have to build up hierarchies of information. Okay, so like the street names need to be a lot bolder, for example. So you can simply grab one of these and you can simply go and change this to a 0.5. Okay, put this in front. So the street names, so it's that whole question about hierarchies. Just remember, some font, you can change this opaque. I usually just make everything transparent. Okay, but I'm going to go and add some street names very quickly. Okay, so I've just added, and I've made those 5 mil high. So they're my street boundaries. In addition, we need to pick up these corners over here. So I'm just going to show you an example of what this should look like. Okay, so typically what we would have got from the Surveyor General, and you can see these letters A, B, C, and D. So we need to establish that as well. Okay, and we need to number each building. So if we look at our example, we need to give each building a number as well. Okay, and then we've got to start picking up this information hidden in the basement, things like that. Okay, so, and it looks like it's the same layers above and below, but we'll add that information on now. Okay, so let's just go back to Revit. Okay, so first things first, go back to annotate, text. Remember, this will be 3, start here, and that letter will be, it ends in D. So this will be D, and you can move this, tab, move this over here, press Control and drag, we'll duplicate it. Okay, this is D, this will be C, C, grab it again, B, and drag this one last time there to A. Okay, double click. Sometimes you got to zoom in. A. Okay, now in addition we need to add a circle as well, so we need to go to annotate, detail lines, because there's only 2D line work. Here we're just going to simply use the 5 line, 5, create a circle, and usually I make these about 150, 200. So let's make it 200. That works fine. Grab that, copy. It depends on the scale. Okay, so we adjust this to suit the scale. So just copy those to each corner, just so that it matches what we receive from the surveyor. Okay, or the SG diagram. Leave that over there. Now I'm going to drag this text again. So tab, drag this in here. So this will be number 1. Okay, I'm just going to switch off that edit type, just switch off this to be transparent. It'll fix all of them. Then I'm going to simply copy this, copy there, 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 there. Okay, so that's number 1. That's unit number 2, number 3, and unit number 4. Okay, great. I just need to introduce the parking in the basement. I can use my wireframe mode. Wireframe, you can see into the basement architecture. So here I'm just going to use annotation. I'm just going to use a basic drafting line in this instance, because you also need to go and number all the parking. So you need to go and number the bays that are in use. So I might use these 4 bays, and I might pick another 3 or 4 bays here as visiting parking. Okay, but for now, all I need to do is just go to detail lines and just say hidden. So you can simply go and use the hidden, and you just need to do this once, and I'll copy this line work. So once I've completed that, let me just do that. Let me just do that a bit more. Let's take this to here. Right click, create similar. Pull this down from here to here. Okay, now I can simply just say select. Use the filter command, check none, and I want the lines hidden. And I'm going to simply say copy, make sure multiple selected, copy, 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 copy. Okay, hidden. Okay, that's good. All right. So now we've got our unit numbers, and you see we're using hierarchies here, so that's slightly higher because it's more important. Okay, we've started adding in all our information. You can see I've drafted in some brickwork and some columns as well, but that's part of our 3D model, so I didn't have to draft a lot there. Okay, that's working well. Now we're going to start using some very specific type of annotation. Okay, so if we go to tag categories, now with these building lines, we've got 2 types of categories. If I select and I hover on the side here, you see by default, I've loaded this family. It's trying to give me the boundary length. But if I keep tabbing and I find the complete closed loop, it will actually make a different type of tag. Okay, this is a property tag that will automatically work out the area of the site information. So if I keep tabbing, I select this. Here we can see it's 900 square. So this annotation tag switch off leader, because these come with a leader by default when you put them in. And if I give this an earth number, so let's just go back to this image. This is earth, so this is earth portion 1 of, here we see, portion 1 of earth 195. So all that we do, we just type in 1-195. Okay, earth 195. You can also do it the other way around, 195-1, but they will know that this is portion 1 of earth. Okay, and here's our square meters. So this tag actually does everything for us already. Okay, and that tag will tag the complete enclosed site boundary. However, if I go back to tag category now, and I hover over here, switch off leader, and now you see it's reporting the length of that boundary length. If I hover here again, but you can see it's almost pretty much square. Hover in the frontier tab until you get the boundary. There we go. And then tab one last time there. Okay. Now we can just simply move these where we need them. Okay. So once you've placed the tags, so these tags report and they're pre-built in a certain way. Okay. So those, you can use your nudge keys just to nudge them off the line. Try and get them as close as possible. I usually try and line these up in the center of the boundary. Okay, that will work. That will work. Okay. Yeah, that's starting to work well. This one I can move down a bit. Here we've got a slight issue because we've got some other information as well, but that'll work fine there. And then this last one I've just got to nudge up and put underneath this text. Okay. All right, that's good. All right, so we've got all our boundary links. We've got our earth details assigned now as well. You can just also put a basic bit of texture, earth 1, adjacent earth, but that's fine. As long as I've got the information pertaining to my site, that's all I need to show in this instance. Okay, so I've got a lot of my notes. The last thing I need to do is just introduce some different type of notes here. So text, usually this is between 1.8 and 1.5. Let's just see what works. So this is a manhole. And let's see how that works. If not, we can make it smaller. Because this is purely, it's a symbol. It's part of my symbol, so this doesn't really have to read. Yeah, that works well. So 1.5, that's fine. And then these little inspection eyes, control. This again, we can make 1.8 as well, or 2. Usually I make these a little smaller, so that's an inspection eye. Control. Now, just to rod, we might have to put another rodding eye over here somewhere. Another, okay, that's an inspection eye. Grab that to there, and that will become a rodding eye. Okay. Or a cleaning eye. It's either called a cleaning eye or rodding eye. Yeah. It's just so that here they'll put a rod in to go and clean. There'll be some inside the basement as well where you can rod to this point over here. So all that you're trying to do is you just need an access point where you can rod. There might be another one over here. So every 15 meters, but I think this should be good if I measure. And it also depends on the rodding eye kits. Okay, so it's between 15 and 30 meters, but I think, yeah, 30 meters, I'm happy. I only need one rodding eye there. And then in the basement here, I'll have to introduce another rodding eyes where it goes down. So I've made a shaft, a service shaft where we're going to put our services around. Okay, but that's more when it comes to our floor plans. Okay, so we've got our rodding eyes, our inspection eyes. Okay, all right, so that's starting to take shape. We've got our earth numbers. Now we just need to add some parking numbers. These are usually also about 1.8 or 2. Okay, I usually make them 1.8. So this will be 1. So here we just need to go and we need to document this because the council will count the parkings, and if we number them correctly from the get-go, It just avoids confusion later on. 3, 4, 5, 5. Again, I could just simply copy these. Okay, here we might have some visitor parking, maybe that we can use. Maybe there's a gate coming in here. Okay, but that's for you to decide. And we'll look at the parking in our next exercise. We'll look at the parking calculations as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go isolate category. If you quickly, if you just want to select stuff quickly. Okay, I'm going to add one more. Okay, but this is an agreement that you would have had to make with your neighbor in this instance. Okay, but you can make it count part of your parking if you can convince them that that's the case. The last thing I just need to address now is to fix my grids. So when you have a grid in this situation that it sits on the edge here, you've got a break line tool that you can break the grid away so that it's legible. So that's what you need to do with these very quickly, because you don't want it sitting over that thick line work. You can take it in or out, that's totally up to you. Let's do the same this side, so we're keeping things consistent. Then what I need to do with these grids, so go IC, I can simply switch them off this side, switch on the head this side. Okay, do likewise here. And then I can just simply switch it off there, switch it off there. You can leave it on both sides, that's totally up to you. Reset, that's good. This line I can pull in a bit more, so let's grab this line. So grab my grid, pull this back a bit closer to the building. Yeah, and then these I can also do the same. Okay, all right, that's looking good. Okay, so if I change this back to true north, just remember the only thing that won't change this is a very different type of family and it will stay square, but that's fine. Everything else you want to keep in line with an object that you're donating. Okay, just so that it makes it easier to read, you know exactly what object you're referring to at any given point. Okay, all right, so we've pretty much completed all of our annotation that we needed to add. Now we just need to add our setting out dimensions. Okay, so there's not much to set out in the front here. So let's just go look at the example. So I'm going to do a lot of that dimension setting out. So we need to go and pick up the grid. So annotation, linear. So here we're going to start selecting these grids. So just select the grid here, select that, and then select that grid. There we go. Leave that up there. Let's move this grid line a bit more. Let's get the 3D extents. Let's pull that up a bit more. Nudge this up. That's all I need to do, and I just need an overall dimension here. From there, I must select. So what's happened is sometimes you must actually select the grid line itself. If you don't, you select the cadastral information. It probably won't be square. I've noticed that with this drawing. Okay, that's good. Let's extend that a fraction more. There we go. Okay, so that reads fine. And I've used the 2 mil in this instance just so that it reads a bit neater. Okay, now we've got some different dimensioning to do along here, DI. So from there to there, and then from there to the front of our building. again, overall. Okay, and where things change, we might need to donate how that works. So maybe a dimension along here, so from there to there, and where this opening occurs, from there to there. So that's the opening in that brick wall. I can change that to 3200. Okay, that will help. But that's fine. We're just picking up these dimensions. Let's untick that. I can just put this over here somewhere and I can nudge this back. Just remember, these dimensions, they work on one side. So what you need to do sometimes is move these above the line. So I'll move this above the line here. Likewise with this one, move it above the line, snap. Yes, and that's why I gray out our trees, because it allows you to still read the dimensions as well. Okay. And we might actually have a clear opening access here as well of 6 meters, which I can do like that. Okay. But that's definitely legible. And then one last, I just need to extend this dimension. Okay, extend that to the front of the building. And then pull this in that line here as well. There we go. Okay, so here we've got a slight issue with a clash. So I can simply, here we've got a lot of going on. So here I can just simply grab this and move this dimension to one side. Okay, I can simply do that. So that'll still read as a dimension, or I can simply pull this away from the building. Let's just go look at my example. Oh yeah, and I've shown the overhang. Yeah, so I've shown the opening here and I've shown that wall there. Okay, so that's okay. I'll leave that like that for now. And I'll simply quickly dimension this overhang. Okay. Okay, that should be 2 meters. I can just simply use my dimensions to help me fix that quickly. So it just means that when I go back to my model, I can quickly go and do that to my model as well. So let's pull that there and then tab on that and make that 2 meters, 2000. And I can pull this dimension away from this text and put it in here. Okay. All right, so now we can see we've picked up a lot of dimensions. We've dimensioned the overall of the site. Okay, and we've got, so as far as all the annotation that's required, I'm pretty happy with this end result. Okay, let's just go and have a look at our sheet very quickly. So you can see this is very legible as per the example.